I'm the cultural program assistant here. I was an undergrad and grad student here at UIC, and now I'm working here. So cultural program assistant in terms of like trying to develop a program that kind of highlights disability, art, and culture on campus, but also like within the larger community. Well, when I was a student, for sure there was a lot of courses where professors were not so willing to accommodate. I'm thinking particularly in the math departments. It was really difficult for me to pass like math courses, and not necessarily because of the material itself. It was more just because things weren't really that accessible for me. So what I had to do was kind of take a reduced course load, because it would take a longer time for me to have access to things, and it was just less stressful if I would like reduce my course load. And sometimes when I'm thinking about on campus too, like for example in the wintertime, it can get really hard for me to navigate with like a lot of snow, specifically because like sometimes the paths that I take that are easier for me to kind of travel, maybe more people don't take that path, so sometimes like there's piles of snow in that. Just growing up, I had to be bused out of my neighborhood school because my own school didn't have the resources to help me, so they looked for another school that did have the resources, and I had to be bused out. And just like in thinking about how people aren't aware of like certain services that are available to children with disabilities, or even youth, or anyone in general who have disabilities. There was a lot of things that my family didn't think that I was going to be able to do, because they didn't know what was out there. They didn't know the resources. It was also like a kind of taboo subject a lot of times in my family to even openly discuss my disability. So like coming into myself and kind of realizing that I had a disability and accepting that, and then being kind of more like proud of who I am in terms of my disability was it took a while for me to get there. I would say that I didn't fully really get there until I got into college. So I think it affects people, but mostly myself. Just talking about myself, in various ways I see it, not just like having access to different opportunities, but also the way I felt about myself, and the way I saw like portrayals of people with disability in the media, and how I felt like, oh, I'll never be that cool disabled superhero person. And just kind of like, where does that leave me? Different questions that I feel like I had to answer.